Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino. And no, you didn't have to move your clock ahead an hour, but we have moved ahead an hour with the 11:30 post time at the Big A today, Wood Memorial Day. We have moved the Handicappers Report up. We put Racing Across America will be up at the top of the hour, and one of the, I don't know, you call it, Keeneland opened yesterday, and now we have big Kentucky Derby preps. It kind of feels like horse racing is a year-round sports set for us, but kind of like opening day, I think, for the sport, kind of like the birds chirping.
Weekend, there was 4 weekends ago, there was the lull, and then the last 3 weekends,
the big races.
Kind of blockbusters.
Kind of ugly out there today.
Puts the exclamation point on it. Yeah, and if you're coming down the Northway, Twin Bridges is tied up with some kind of road work to one lane, so you may want to avoid that for check online at some point this morning. I'm sure it'll clear up.
So big day today. We're going to get right to it. The note of it was sort of inevitable. As we said, it might have been a better story if I had whiffed, but David Jacobson got Colonel Vargo home the other day, and I needed 7:02, 7:20, which I guess if I'm not in Kentucky, that's as close as I could have got. In Kentucky, I could have gotten 7:02, but in New York, so the Anthony Mormino 2.0 on the Handicappers Report has the 2 years are not here yet, but the math has guaranteed. I guessed right that there would be 11 Wood Memorial Day, and I projected there'll be 14 Kentucky Derby Day. So my math appears that it's going to be right, but we have guaranteed a 2-year return on investment. And it was funny, as he was winning, there was a minor sense of relief because it did feel inevitable. We talked last week. It'd be a bigger story if I didn't get there than accomplishing it. But it was a mic drop. I just was like, I guess it's the close I felt like what a marathon runner must feel like, my wife, when you finish. You're just like, there's nothing left. I mean, there's no, and I said to Denise, she's like, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm gonna not think about it for about 5 months, like I did the last time when I got the year. But if I'm kicking in October and we're still doing this, I'll go for 3 years. But right now there's nothing left. You know, I felt like that moment when Alexander, no more worlds to conquer. That's it. He just wept. And what's funny was that it came down to 2 horses. It really came down to 1 horse. Right now, I am like plus 100 and something.
The Apple.
Yeah. The one horse.
What, Matron?
The Matron, now run on turf. And I said, the part about that I like is something that I brought to this table in 1998. When I said I became a public handicapper, I told Dick Powell, I said, I'm picking horses just the way I'm not that a public handicapper took a 30-1 morning line shot and put it on top with no reservations. And I said, to me, there's a lot of karma almost, that I stuck to my guns, and that gun basically makes up for 2 years, which I think is an amazing concept, to be quite honest.
Yeah, what was that Apple? You remember the name? It was Apple
Picker?
Something. No, because Apple Picker ran a couple days ago.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
It was like My Apple or something.
American
like that.
Apple?
I think, yeah.
American
yeah,
Apple.
Yeah.
Out of, I think, Miss Apples or something. But
because it's funny. We're doing an on the road today. We're going to be at the Woodlawn branch today with a fan appreciation.
Shorter drive than Queensbury.
We'll have some cut-ins during the day. But the day that horse won, we were doing one of those. I forget where we were, but I was out with Shannon Donovan from the marketing department, the Horse and Ones. I turned to Shannon and I said, Mormino had that horse.
That's me. So and it's funny.
Like, wow.
So you do 2 years, let's say on average 10 races a day, and I do Del Mar in the summer for the company, and it really comes down to 1 horse. he's almost like within $5 the separation between all of it, which is apropos, I think, is better word than karma for me. So we'll see. Well, we'll keep the train running, and I will let you folks know when. I will say this: I'm not a, what's the sportscaster jinx guy. I'll let you know when we go below, what day it is, and we'll know how long it was. But 2 years. I can tell you, folks, I never thought it would ever happen, ever. Never in my wildest moment as a part-time guy could slug it out with these horses. But there you have it. David Jacobson off the bench,
Good job. Good job. Top of the hour, as you mentioned, we will have Racing Across America. I'm going to be joined by Howard Kravitz, host of the HHH Racing podcast. I always tout his podcast. You can go.
Is that the gentleman I met last summer? He was roving early morning. There's about 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah. You got it. Yeah.
Very nice.
Contest player based out in Chicago. He's actually a high school math teacher, but he plays in a lot of contests. He qualifies variously, but he launched this podcast a while ago. It's become very popular.
What's the podcast?
HHH Racing Podcast.
I listened to that the other day coming back from Logan Airport.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, yes, very good.
But this week, he and his co-host, Paul Halloran, who, I don't know if you met Paul. Paul works for the Saratoga Special in the summer, Boston area-based guy. But wow. Paul and Pete Visco are the co-hosts. And this week, they went over the All-States Pick 5 at Keeneland. So I thought, I'll get Howard on and we'll kind of go over that today. So that'll be at 9 o'clock. And just before we move on, catch the game last night. That was the girls, the fellas are going to have trouble keeping up with the excitement of the girls tournament.
You know what?
With Caitlin, that was a good game.
It was an excellent game.
You hate to see one end on a foul like that, right, one way or the other, but it was a really good game.
What's interesting to me in the way how world works and everything is that South Carolina is getting very little publicity, and they're having probably one of the greatest coaching job years ever. She had 3 first-round draft picks in the WNBA draft last year, and she's produced probably the greatest coaching season ever. They're 32-0.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
They drew the early game yesterday, which is always, they're telling you something, and here they are. And you hardly hear a peep about one of the greatest seasons ever.
Yeah. No, but it's been fun. And
it is. It's
today kicks off the men's side of things, and that's been interesting as well. One of my favorite sports events of the year. The whole tournament used to be. You got an extra week when my guys were in the big. Syracuse was in the Big East. That tournament used to be a lot of fun too. Not quite the same with the ACC tournament for me. And Jerry McNamara at Siena. I think that's going to be fun.
I do, but you know where I see the pothole there? Jerry's starting what I think he presents a 30-year D1 basketball career, and I'm sure he's going to meet with success. I don't think I don't think Jerry's getting a 30-year mortgage.
and that's been the situation at Siena or any of those, that level of school.
If they get real good,
you
can't afford them. Yeah. But it'll be exciting. I think it'll be exciting.
Yeah, no question about it. And his specialty was kind of recruiting anyway, so you would think he'll get some fun teams and fun players. All right, you ready?
Absolutely. I mean, the relief and. I'm absolutely ready.
I'm going to look at Keeneland a little bit later on, but we're going to kick things off with Aqueduct on Wood Memorial Day. And the kickoff, as we mentioned earlier, that's why we're starting a little early. They kick off early, 11:30 on the big card with not just the Wood Memorial, but other nice stakes as well. But race 1, maiden specials going 6.5.
See if Linda Rice can win 5 every other day. 5-1-7 as we kick it off. And I have to say, I guess now as I'm, it's a 15-1 shot that I fancy. I'm all on board. This is a Mount Everest type of race for me, folks. And that is laser sharp is 6-5 from the rail. And they are the Mount Everest. And I am happy to take Arteta for George Weaver. Hasn't started since Saratoga. Is reported as a new gelding. Gets Lasix for the first time as a 3-year-old now. Eric Consell, I'm very happy to take this 15-1 shot in the opener. For second, Laser Sharp has run second in all 3 previous starts. I have him for second once again. And for third, number 7, 2 Tons of Fun, which I think, and I've said this before, that I completely compartmentalize races on off going. So 2 Tons of Fun was 4-1 for Chad Summers in the debut. I'm giving a second shot here, 5-1-7 in the opener.
Yeah, your top pick hasn't raced since Saratoga, finishing behind Just Steel, locked, drum roll, please. Well behind, but you have to think of improved performance. I put that one.
You know what I wanted to say? I bring it. The buyer speed rigger thing has helped me out so much. FYI, you think there'll ever be a champion, a dirt champion, that never runs a buyer speed figure that out of the 70s? And she wasn't good yesterday. I was like, she reminds me of who she was okay. I think she was okay.
I thought that was okay.
She was.
Yeah.
I actually expect her to have. I hope she doesn't go to the Oaks, because I think she's going to regress. She ran too well off of the bench. But I was thinking, she's Hoosier Philly, who never ran big buyers, and people. I didn't realize that for FYI had like 78 was her topper for a dirt champion. I was like, and I didn't like her yesterday. I didn't like Impel either. I didn't get Todd Pletcher, but I was shocked that she had such minimalist numbers.
Yeah.
You know, because.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the way of the world. You get into the 3-year-old scene, and getting to triple digits these days for these guys getting to the Derby is kind of an anomaly. Second race at Aqueduct this afternoon. State bird allowance down. What is it? One other than 3/4 of a mile.
5, 1, 8, and 6 for me. The 5 second off the $25,000 claim is at the right level here. Draws a good post position. The offspring of Sharp Azteca. Sharp Az gets my top pick, owner trainer Paul Merrow. For second, schedule the break for the number 3 post position. Messe, the magician, comes off of a strong most recent effort. And for third, Gray Wing, Jeffrey Engelhardt sends out this runner. And, you know, it's something that I know you talked about it last week. My ambivalence to layoffs now. No. It's just amazing how much the game has changed. But Kaz Mike scares me very much from the outside there off of the nearly 2-year layoff.
I will say we're in that little window now. The 3 in here, Laurel Valley, has some good numbers, but they're turf numbers. And this has the look to me of a Mike Maker horse who's going to go out and get a race in prep for 3 or 4 weeks down the road where they'll jump back to the turf. Third race today at Aqueduct, Plain Vanilla Claimers going the 1-turn mile.
And I have to say, Seth, of all the concepts I had to understand, and there are many more I need to understand, the fact that, and I see when I talk to people in their eyes, when I tell them not every horse in the race is there to win. The look in their eyes is like, because we think in sports, if we think of horse racing as a sport, no one ever is in that realm. But you have to realize, as Seth said, on April 20th, the turf season is scheduled to return to New York. He might be practicing today, but the look in people's eyes, I can tell how much it almost shakes. They're like, what do you mean? I go, well, it's a long year. 4-8-1 for me as they go the 1-turn mile here. Candy Tycoon for Rudy Rodriguez. Claimed this horse for $20,000. I like the effort going the 2-turn 9-furlong record race to get ready for this 1-turn 1-mile race. Second off the claim. For second, Digital, number 8, George Weaver's runner, claimed for $25,000. Most recently, as I said before, I kind of shake out the races on the off-going. To me, this horse fits in this group on the outside. And for third, from the rail, Magical Eagle, second race since October. Second race is coming east from Santa Anita. I think he's up against it going the mile, but 4-8-1. By the way, did you see, what is it? Godette, not Lacey. Who does the TV show? Gabby. Winter Parka. Yesterday at Keeneland.
And then
the reason I bring it up is I'm scheduled to be there on a week from today.
Ren Carruthers, who lives in the area, she does.
She's a Lexington person. You told me.
The Tampa pregame, but she does it from her house. But yesterday, she was doing something for ABR, America's Best Racing, with a couple other women, and they tweeted something out, and the camera person was here, and they were behind the table, and they were looking, and Ren had a blanket over her legs. So it looked like, and Scott Hazelton at one point of the day said, it's starting to sprinkle here a little bit, and it's kind of chilly, and so it had that early.
I think Gabby said something early like about, well, it's not snowing, which is viable, but I mean, it looks brisk. I don't want it to be that cold.
Fourth race this afternoon at Aqueduct kicks off stakes action. It's the Carter Grade 2 event, $300,000. How do they only attract 5 in here?
Don't get me started. But one thing I will say, and I think this is just a clerical thing on the form's part. You have the form, right?
Yeah.
Does it say the Carter and then H?
Yeah.
It's not a handicap. And this is a form thing. Naira, if you go on the things, you can tell it's an allowance style race. And then if you read the conditions, and I will say this, I am not a avid reader of conditions. I kind of scan it and I move on unless I see something that doesn't work. And when you read these, it doesn't work. You can read that this is an allowance style stakes race, not a handicap. Because it used to be one of the most.
It's allowed certain.
It's allowance.
Did you look at the condition book?
Yes, everything's right. They just shouldn't have the H. It should be an S.
So in the condition book, it isn't a handicap.
It's not a handicap. It's an allowance stakes race.
It's weird.
Well, and I also say this on Equibase, when you go down to, and I can't, I could make a living out of just editing them. They have races that are still listed as handicaps that are not handicaps. I don't know who I'm supposed to. I'm like, they're not. They're stakes races now. And so my point is also going in with Seth. And you want to know how I figured this out? 120 post time is the highway. So I wanted to see if somebody was weighted more than post time to see who gave this race consideration. And that's when I started to unravel, what's the old saying, peeling back the onion or something. And as I was peeling it back, I'm like, it's not a handicap, dummy. They didn't have to release weights. It's an allowance race, and post time is the high weight, but it's 2 pounds separating the entire field. You have the two Super Chow at 120, 100. I just wanted to say, just if you're out there, it's not the Carter handicap anymore. I am 235 in here, and I mean, when I was a kid, Forgo carried 134. What's funny was this was a very formful race for years. But like in the last 10 years, we've had like the longest shot on the field. Green Grotto paid like $100 a couple of years ago. But, it's not a handicap anymore, so you're not going to get that. So I think on balance, it's a 5-horse race. It's a 5-horse field. That's an upside. How the horizontals get through this, I don't know. I thought it was on balance. I used one of the Mormino rules. I had to take one of the longer shots, and I took the second one, Whittington Park for Jeremiah Engelhardt. Comes out of the Haynes field, has made 2 starts that I like since August. So this is the 3rd race in the cycle. Now, we have a 5-year-old, so there's less muscle regression. And the reason I mention that is we're coming off a career best. So we'll see if Jeremiah can push the envelope one more because, maybe – talking in the Beyer speed figures, I probably only have to improve 1 length at 6-1 versus post time, who's my second pick, who ran a 103 to win the General George, and he's 8-5. I'm in this race at a 6-1. And then for third, Petulant going out for Richard Dutcher. I told you, folks, I don't care about layoffs. This horse was off almost 10 months, got beat as a favorite. I expect to move forward. It's an intriguing race to me. I don't think, Seth, we're looking at a historical Carter Stakes here today, but it's 2, 3, 5. I think they're all live in this race. So as I like to say, I'm not settling on post time.
I went with Whittington Park too, but I'm wondering if Super Chow isn't going to have the pace advantage in a 5-horse field.
I think will
steal it on the front end. I'm worried about that. 5th race this afternoon, State Prize Maiden Specials going 6.
By the way, we nudged the wife to go to work yesterday, so we had Seth Merrow throughout the house yesterday, opening day at Keeneland, etc. And I heard you I thought you did as well a job as you could describing the two non-contests yesterday. But I thought the point you made
from the day before.
Right. It was the idea that in today's day and age with communication,
Mahoney Valley did
it's
not do a good
embarrassing
job.
that we're there.
Yeah.
I've said it before. Getting a snapshot of the winner's circle, putting it up on social media. I mean, letting your owners and trainers and jockeys get it's.
And for folks who don't know, going back to Thursday, there were two on the same day, which is unusual. Two races that were declared no contest. One was at Santa Anita, and that was fairly obvious because
he didn't get up.
Yeah,
in time.
Jock falls off the horse at the start of the race.
Two-turn races.
Yeah, the horse runs on, so the horse was fine. But then on the backstretch, the outriders pulled up the jockeys because the jockey that had fallen hadn't gotten up yet. Subsequently got up. He was fine. He raced later in the day. So that was declared a no contest. Again, that was obvious. But the Mahoney one, just like a half an hour earlier, the race was run. The horse went in, got the picture taken in the winner's circle, and then they declared no contest. And people, I went to Twitter because I went to find out why. And everybody was trying to find out why. And Mahoney has a Twitter account. And
they might have an account, but they don't have somebody running it.
And that, again, with smaller tracks now, they don't have the racing form people in the press box. So the racing
Who's watching?
Racing Form had an article on the Santa Anita situation, but there was nothing. And eventually the track announcer at Mahoney tweeted out that it was a tote malfunction. The windows stayed open a little bit after the race, so they had to declare it the no contest. But even that, I don't think was official necessarily, but I believe that was probably the reason.
And I think the point you made, it's just, I mean, listen, there's tight budgets, in my house, everywhere. I understand that. But it really seemed to me that there's maintaining a social media account is not a 8-hour job. It's most of the time it's not much, but I thought that was the central theme of the day is getting information out there.
Yeah, no question about it. Again, the fifth state-bred maiden's going 6.
Good job by you. 7, 8, 4. Focus Pocus gets my top pick. Hasn't started since Saratoga for Horatio De Paz, but as I said, I'm ambivalent about layoffs nowadays. We get Lasix as a 3-year-old for second, number 8. Papillona Red goes out for Tom Morley on the debut, and I know Tom Morley doesn't have he's a single-digit first-time starter trainer, but this offspring of Accelerate intrigues me. 6-1 on the morning line. He's riding Johnny V, which he doesn't do very often. I'm intrigued here. And for third, Al's Ruby for Christophe Clement, another horse who greatly intrigues me. This City of Light. You're usually ahead of the curve on younger stallions. He's scary good. 7, 8, 4. Oh, by the way, did you see they had obviously the kickoff of what most of us think of as 2-year-old racing in America yesterday, and Wesley Ward ran the filly.
Royal asked that next, I would think.
Well, he ran the filly against the boys, but what I didn't understand is isn't there the filly race today?
He does that a lot, though.
My point is, sometimes you do that because the filly race isn't, and she wants to go. But I think the 2-year-old fillies, and the reason I don't know is I've already looked at Saturday and Sunday for Keeneland. But the fillies division is coming up. But she was 2 lengths in front.
That's where I said that's where he gets his advantage. He trains these horses to just break so well.
She was 5 in front.
50 yards out of the gate, and it was all over.
And what's funny was I think she was 4-1 on the morning line. And she was like 1-2.
Wesley Ward with a 2-year-old on the opening day. All right, the 6th race at Aqueduct, the Distaff, Grade 3 event, $175,000, 7 furlongs the trip.
Now the Distaff, for example, many years ago, it was the Distaff handicap, and the form has it right here that they don't put the age because it's the Distaff Stakes. It's run under allowance conditions very similar to the Carter, but this is for the Distaffers, obviously. 6, 1, 4. Another race where apple picker. Another race where I have it very much even. Hot Fudge loves Aqueduct, so that might be an edge, but I was like, I don't know. So Chad Brown, 6, making the first start. Is it Shabati or Shabathuti? Hasn't run since the summer. Was running in distance of ground. I don't care. It's Chad Brown off the layoff at a big price. How about Todd Pletcher? What did he pay? Like $20 to win the Ashland yesterday? Off of 4-1. She was 4-1 in the morning line, too. First start since the Monmouth Oaks on the outside, which I think is good. We'll see if, it's almost unfair to say shortening up because you're not really shortening up. Technically, you are off the sheet, but you're starting the 4-year-old campaign. I just like the offspring of practical joke. I mean, my thought, Seth, is this is probably what she wants to do. 7 furlongs might be her game. 1 mile, 1 turn, maybe. But I think this is what her best distance is. Hot fudge for second, 9-5 on the board. And you're 6 for 7 lifetime. You've won the correction. You won the Interborough. You won the Garland of Roses. I mean, it reminds me of Vinny the Viper about 40 years ago. I think he won every sprint that they used to have in the old inner dirt track. And then Apple Picker coming out of the victory in the Barbara Fritchie. But to me, the distaff wide open, just like the Carter. I'm 6-1-4 going against the 8-5 shot and the 9-5 shot. Should be no surprise to our viewers.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, more Aqueduct a little bit later on Keeneland. Stay tuned.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes Hot Chaparral. Hot Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Falbrough. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Seth, Merrow, Anthony Mormino. Let's continue at Aqueduct with race 7. Non-winners at 1, allowance action, $82,000 up for grabs. They'll go a mile.
Yes, layoffs, be darned. 4-6-3 coming off with a Peter Pan layoff is Summer Cause. 8-1 on the morning line for Joel in town. It was offspring of Summerfront. Took a while to break the maiden, but did it going 2 turns. Now starts the 4-year-old campaign off today, and that is my pick. Vespucci, number 6 for Pat Reynolds. Fan of the show. Love his work. Won on debut. Did not return until March after that June debut. Just got beat with a big improvement. And for third, Lunacy going out for Richard Dutrow. Beat him last time. Let's see if we beat him again. 4-6-3.
Grade 3 Gazelle, couple $100,000 up for grabs in race number 8. 9 furlongs the distance. I'm really interested to see what Life Talk does off of that seasonal debut. That was an absolute dud down at Tampa at 2-5.
Never looked good that day.
Oof.
9-5-2 for me. Carmelina for Butch Reed going out for the second start of the year on the outside with the short run into the first time with good early speed. I think a little nudging. I just don't think we're going to have to use a significant amount of early energy to get over to the rail, to get the position in the race we want. For second, Life Talk, they're adding blinkers. Boy, just FYI, that was a positive return to the races. Can't say that about Life Talk, who, Seth, I have to tell you, was my thought of the weekend, Breeders' Cup weekend, at 20-1. And then who could ask for Mo going out for Shug coming up from Florida, 9.52 in the Gazelle.
As has been the case for some years now on these days of big 3-year-old races, Derby preps, and then later in the season, days like the Travers and whatnot, you get a 3-year-old race for the sprinters, and that is the Bayshore, $150,000 up for grabs, 7 furlongs the trip.
Well, to show you how the game's changed, Seth, this was the true start of the 3-year-old Derby Trail.
These stakes used to be kind of
the Swift,
the
which
test would lead into the Alabama.
Right.
That's not a thing.
Yeah, the Swift, which was run at 6 on the inner, didn't really count. But Secretariat ran in the Bayshore, and it was the Bayshore, the Gotham, and then the Wood. 8-4-2, eliminate. Hopefully Todd Pletcher didn't fire his nice $20 winner yesterday only, but the offspring of Curlin shortens up after trying a mile, trying winners for the first time with Dylan Davis back in the saddle. Number 2, Maximus Meridius going out for Butch Reed. Won an allowance race before getting beat in the Gotham. And then for third, Classic Joke. Second start since the autumn of victory down at Tampa. 8-4-2 in the listed Bayshore.
In the upcoming
10th at
it
4:07 in the afternoon.
The Wood Memorial, Grade 2 event, $750,000. Again, 9 furlongs the trip.
And I think this is true because obviously Easygoing Secretariat did do it. No one has ever won the Gotham, the Wood, and the Derby.
No.
Which seems odd, especially, going back 60, 70 years when New York racing was King Kong. But I think that's true. 10-1-9, taking an absolute flyer here. Number 10, Gettysburg Address. And this is one of those 30-1 shots, which I think will be higher. I've talked before about Country House and the Derby. And we're going to get all of the price here. I am not, I'll ask you, I think this race is far more wide open than the morning line would indicate.
Yeah, I use deterministic.
I don't even have. Now I'm against, and I go back to the idea that I just separate the idea of slop and everything. So if he wins at a short price, more power. But I'm Gettysburg Address, adding blinkers, coming off of this synthetic. I love the 3-year-old debut in the Smarty Jones. Didn't win, but I like what I saw. For second from the rail, Resilience going out for Bill Mott. They add blinkers. I'm throwing out the Risen Star. That was first time versus winners in the slop. And for third, Tuscan Sky for Todd Pletcher. 2 for 2, both on off tracks. 10-1-9.
Yeah, I was taking a shot with Tuscan Sky in there. The 11th and final at Aqueduct, Statebred Maidens, 6 furlongs.
3-9-10 to wrap it up here. Richard Dutrow sends out the 3. Love the debut race. For second, number 9, Better Be Smart, Charlie Baker's horse. Bet on debut, raced well. That was in the slop. And for third, Spirit of Esther going out for Carlos Martin, another horse. Good on debut in the slop. We'll see how it goes today in the finale at 4:42. What's this, January 10th? 3-9-10.
All right, we'll take another break. When we come back at Keeneland, stay tuned. Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer. Wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com. There's no better place to enjoy horse racing action than the Capital OTB Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, just minutes off of I-90. The Clubhouse Racebook features over 200 flat-screen TVs, bringing you racing action from across the country, plus all the major sporting events. Racing info, tip sheets, promotions and events, track odds, plenty of parking, and a full bar and restaurant. Stop by today. Capital OTB's Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Turn our attention to day 2 at Keeneland for their spring meet. Going to kick it off with 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th on the dirt, maiden specials.
7, 8, 5, and 3, batten down, goes out for Bill Mott and Judd Mott. You might recognize the name of the dam. Closed hatches, 9 wins and 14 starts. She was a 5-time Grade 1 winner, including right here at Saratoga in the personal ensign. Full sibling to this horse, Tacitus, was 4th in the debut, then won the next 3, including the Tampa Bay Derby and the Wood Memorial. So I think this horse is better than we've seen in the first 2 record-wise. I think the first 2 races were okay. Just hasn't had a win yet. We'll look for this one to break through today. Banned for Life, 8-5 on the morning line for Al Stahl. They paid $250,000 for this horse. Ran okay in debut. There's one racing sibling, though. It's a horse called Pine Cove. No board finishes in 5 starts, so I was a little put off by that. 3rd spot, Elephant's Ear. The lone racing sibling for this one, Slick Country Boy, started the career off 11th, and it did not finish, then a 6th and won in the 4th career start. This one finished a 3rd behind a good one from Cox and Godolphin in the debut, and I think could run well. You talk about horses not being meant to win necessarily. Practice. When I had Ken McPeak on, and he said it before. I've had him on at Saratoga. He says, I'm not really aiming in the first start to get the win. I'm looking for experience. We'll see if that's the case with Elephants here. In the opener at Keeneland, 7, 8, 5, and 3.
I think Close Hatches won the race the only time Beholder ever finished off the board.
Oh.
I think it was the first year when they ran the Ogden Phipps for $1 million on the undercard of the Belmont. I think Close Hatches won that race. And by the way, Beholder finished 4th, beating the length for all the money. So, I mean, that's that. But I think that was Close Hatches. A distaff race for $1 million, not the Breeders' Cup, was big. On to the second, optional claimers, 1X going 6.
1, 4, 6, and 7. 20-1 on a Wesley Ward sprinter here. Goes from maiden special into a $100,000 claimer. This is a sibling to Carrick. That one won the career debut for Wesley Ward, then went on to Royal Ascot and ran 15th, but then came back and won the Tyro. So I thought there was some decent breeding here. And this horse was a winner just about a year ago in the debut here at Keeneland. I find it hard to believe, and I'm saying this, I'm finding it hard to believe we'll get to 20-1 given this scenario. But I'll put Mangione on top. Second is Scatify for our friends at West Point Thoroughbreds. Has been racing in Southern California. John Sadler brings the son of Justify East off of a couple of stakes tries. Now gets into a more proper non-winners at 1 level. And Pirate in the 3rd spot. Hasn't been seen since Saratoga last year for Todd Pletcher, Starlight Racing and Company. Won the debut, then tried the Hopeful, ran 3rd. Running 2nd that day was the talented Timberlake. Pirate's going to be tough this afternoon as well. And second, 1, 4, 6, and 7.
On to the 3rd race, 3-year-olds, maiden special weights, racing 7.
2, 12, 6, and 5. I'm going to put Bookie Brent on top. There's a full sibling called Princess Adelie. 2nd in debut, then 4th. Then some wins and some seconds. The upshot is in the first 7 starts, 3 wins and 3 seconds. So I thought there was some win early from the sibling. And keep your eye on Phil Bauer. I thought he got off to a nice start at the meet yesterday, but he is very good with firsters. A relatively small sample, but still pretty good looking with the firsters. We're getting 12-1. Some breeding. This trainer can get it done. Golden Sense on top. Bookie Brent on top for me. Counterattack in the 2nd spot. An $800,000 plus purchase for Tabor and Magner going out first time for Steve Asmussen. Sibling called Donegal Forever. He may remember just recently for Todd Pletcher. Started the career with a couple of nice wins. So I think this one will be live in debut. And Discreet Mischief, Brad Cox runner. Sibling called Kitten's Cat. 3rd, then 1st, and 3rd, then 1st, and 4th, and 1st. There was more turf for that one, though. But this one ran okay on the dirt down at Fairgrounds in the debut, albeit on a sloppy track. For me, 212, 6 and 5.
On to the fourth. Ostensibly, this is 4-year-olds and up. Optional ins for 100,000 or 3x going 6.
2, 4, 1, and 6. I'm going to put Surveillance on top. Coming in from Oaklawn this time of year, I always find the Oaklawn shippers intriguing. 2 starts back, 1 at the Fairgrounds, went to Oaklawn. The Oaklawn race was a stakes race behind the talented sprinter for West Point, Jackson Traveler. I thought it was an okay 4th place finish, but again, moving out of Stakes Company today and up to Keeneland, intriguing in here for Keith DeSormo. 2nd spot, Nighttime. Nice little 3rd place finish in a stakes race last time at Turfway. 3 back, 1 at stake at Turfway, and the Turfway runners tend to do okay on the move over to Keeneland. Tyler Gaffleone on board. He seemed to get off to a nice start yesterday as well. And miles ahead, hasn't been seen since February at Oaklawn, also coming out of a stakes race down in Arkansas, and really a string of stakes races for Paul McGee. Make this one the 6-5 morning line favorite. I'm not sure I'm buying into this, but I wouldn't be shocked to see A, the horse run well, B, win potentially. But I thought others were a little more intriguing. In the 4th, 2, 4, 1, and 6.
On to the 5th race. Just like at Saratoga, they don't run very many on the main turf at a mile and 3/16, but they are at Keeneland. They start at the top of the stretch, a nice long run to get positioned, and it's 3-year-olds maiden special weights in the 5th.
Have dirt picks over on the website if you pull up the one sheet, but on turf, 9, 2, 7, and 10 are Tempest going out for Todd Pletcher, newly in the Pletcher barn after a couple of nice 2nd place finishes down at Gulfstream. Takes the blinkers off today, again, moves into the Pletcher barn, and coming up from Gulfstream. I think the horse will be very well met today at Keeneland. 2nd spot, White Palomino, Chad Brown runner, decent little 3rd place finish in debut, offspring of Kitten's Joy. Took to the turf in that debut down at Gulfstream, and it, like the top pick, I think will be a real contender today. And then Thornberry in the 3rd spot, also coming up from the turf at Gulfstream. Bill Mott runner seemed to kind of figure it out in the last start. Ran very well and then faded a little bit, wound up just behind my top pick. But I think, as I say, maybe the light bulb has gone on for this one. In the 5th, 9, 2, 7, and 11.
On to the 6th, we have 4-year-olds and up, racing 7/8 in the Commonwealth Stakes.
Kicking off an all-stakes pick 5, and as I say, we'll be joined top of the hour by Howard Kravitz from the HHH Racing Podcast, and we will take a look and kind of go through this all-stakes pick 5. And the opening leg for me, 6, 9, 4, and 3.
I am with you.
Bo Cruz.
I love Bo Cruz today. Good job.
I thought off the race, the seasonal debut at the Fairgrounds, this one could be well met in here. 12-1 on the morning line. Again, I'm not sure off of that race we'll get that, but I think we will get some decent value in here. And speaking, I said Howard's a contest player. This horse owned in part by Roger Satina, who I'm assuming that's probably the same. He's a contest player. He's in the NHC Hall of Fame. So taking some of that NHC winning money, I guess, and investing on the other side of the game. But Bo Cruz on top for me off that race at the Fairgrounds. Minnesota Ready in the 2nd spot. Nice workout leading into this off a nice win in the Colonel Power down at Fairgrounds. That was an off-the-turfer. And has 2 turf races just before that were very good, but down the page there's plenty of dirt for him, including that off the turfer last time. But there are races that were meant for the dirt that the horse raced very well. So I think will be a player from the outside. And then Raise Kane in the 3rd spot. You go back to October of last year, won the Perryville here at 7 furlongs. Subsequently went out and tried the Malibu, didn't fare well there. This will be the seasonal debut. But again, that Keeneland start and win in the Perryville attracted my attention. In the 6th, 6, 9, 4, and 3.
Now, the one question would be to Al Stahl Jr., is Bo Cruz seriously meant here? Or is this the start of a campaign to get to the 2 turns and other things? But I think if you wind up in a graded event at Keeneland, I think you're shooting for it. I hope so. We'll continue right through on to the 7th race. We have the 3-year-old fillies. We had the 3-year-old boys yesterday in the Transylvania. Now we have the 3-year-old fillies going a mile in the Appalachian.
10, 6, 1, and 4. I thought the 5 was also a little bit intriguing if you're looking at the Cherie DeVoe runner with Irod Ortiz on board. Wouldn't talk anybody off the 5, but I put 10 on top. Pounce. I thought that win last time. Stakes debut down in the Here Comes the Bride for Mark Cassidy. I thought that was a good-looking effort and put this horse right in the thick of things in this subdivision of these 3-year-old fillies on the turf. So I'll use Pounce on top. I will say the 10 post position, probably a little bit of a negative at this mile trip, but came from behind last time at the mile down at Gulfstream and was outside there. So I'll use Pounce on top. Second spot, Austere. Seasonal debut in the Florida Oaks. 5th place finish, but I thought it was an okay start to the season. The first couple of starts of the career were nice wins, including a stake. That gave them the ambition to try the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf. Again, it was a 5th place finish, but I thought it was okay. Then comes back as a 4-year-old and runs 5th, but with an okay effort. The buyer moves forward incrementally at 10-1. I think this horse is a real player in here. Poolside was Slim, the number 1 horse in the 3rd spot. Nice win, 2 back to break the maiden, and they went into stakes company. I think is going to benefit from that stakes experience and only career start number 3. I could see the horse moving forward off of that. In the 7th, 10-6, 1 and 4.
On to the 8th race, time for Fillies and Mares. Grade 1 action going 7/8 in the Madison.
2, 8, 5, and 6. I'm going to put Red Carpet Ready on top to hear Hurricane Birdie win at Gulfstream off a relatively long layoff attracted my attention. Buyer figure went to a career best, so it just maybe this horse took some time off. And I say it often, you get lightly raced 2-year-olds, even lightly raced 3-year-olds. They get some time off, they come back, they can be improved. That may be the case here for this one. And you know, improving off what was already a pretty good career. This horse now 5 wins and 7 starts, but as I say, hit a lifetime best buyer in the 4-year-old debut. And at 7-2, I think this horse is interesting and potentially a little bit of value. Second spot, Vava, going out for our friends at West Point. You can see, you look under the ownership, you don't see them listed, but there's a whole string of owners, West Point being one of them. And this horse comes off a win in a stakes race at Keeneland last October. Now comes back to make the 4-year-old debut, but another one that has had a nice career so far. 10 wins, 10 starts, 4 seconds, 10 starts, 4 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, including, again, graded stake right here at Keeneland, and could be kind of controlling from that outside post position at the 7 furlongs. Mary Quite Contrary has been a very talented stakes quality sprinter, most recently down in Florida.
Not when I needed her at Saratoga. I took a shot and got it.
Sometimes they work out, sometimes not so much. At Saratoga, not as proficient as the horse has been down in Florida and recently as well. We'll see how the horse can do at Keeneland. Has raced at Keeneland before. You go back to this race last year, was a decent little second. We'll see if we can repeat that and run well again this afternoon. I have a 2, 8, 5, and 6.
You know, I was thinking if I have the time, and I might look up how many last place horses I selected. My selections ran last in this 2-year run. Trust me, I've said it before. There has never been a public handicapper pick more last place runners than me. But they don't. I always tell you, they don't charge you an extra fee. Yeah. You know, 9th race, the grade 2, 5.5 on the turf. The Shakertown, it was listed as good yesterday.
Speaking of charging an extra fee, I don't think I mentioned it at all yesterday, but Keeneland now has reduced their takeout on their daily doubles to 15%. And doubles are an overlooked play these days with the various pick bets and whatnot. But if you can find some clever combinations, doubles can be an interesting way to go. In the 9th at Keeneland, the Shakertown, 9, 11, 6, and 2. I'll put Panther Island on top, sitting at a very generous 8-1 off some good tries and stakes down at Gulfstream. Now, doesn't have a workout since the last, because it's been racing steadily. But man, you look at what this horse has done in the morning. You go back to January, he's 44 workout in the morning. I just think has been running very well. The last start was a dead heat for second. That was won by Coppola. Coppola is my second choice in here. They both come out of that Silks run. They were very close in that. I'm going to look for Panther Island to maybe switch things up at the nice morning line price. Copeland second, and then Arzak in the third spot. Last October, won a stake here at Keeneland and won it very nicely with a triple-digit buyer, then went to the Breeders' Cup. Hasn't been seen since. But again, what we saw at Keeneland last year signals this horse has to be a consideration in here, and Irado T's on board. 9th at Keeneland, 9-11, 6-2.
Yeah, I am barely in charge of anything besides getting to work on time in my life. But the fact that the big three-year-old prep races for the Kentucky Derby are 2 hours apart today, that we could do better. That somehow, I think it would be a very awesome 1 hour. I think the general person out there doesn't need the post-race stuff, but if you can put 3 big-time races for the Kentucky Derby on in a 1 hour show, which I think is doable. But the fact that the Wood's going off at like 5 after 4, this is going to be going off at almost 6 o'clock, and the other one's going off at almost 8 o'clock. I don't think that helps. I think this, this used to be a big TV day, and it's not. I mean, these are spread far apart. I will say this, honestly, it's better for me. I mean, personally, but they already got me. It's the guys and gals they don't have. Santa Anita, got to figure it's going to be bright and sunny out there. But the Bluegrass, grade 1, 9 furlongs, have at it.
2, 10, 6, and 4. We'll see. Sierra Leone is the horse to beat, obviously. But the last couple of weeks, I've kind of felt like nobody has validated themselves. Fierceness ran well, but he didn't put 2 together. And nobody's kind of been able to put 2 together really at the top end. And so I took a little shot against Sierra Leone. Only 3 starts, has been very talented. The one to beat, clearly, I have him in second, but can he string 2 together? BU, to me, is very interesting.
First time versus winners. This is a spot.
It took a 6 start to kind of break through, but I thought broke through pretty nicely. Subsequently working well down at Palm Beach Downs for Todd Pletcher. I think he's going to be interesting this afternoon. He stretches to the 2 turns again off a mile and a 7 furlong start to begin the 3-year-old season. But as I say, that last start seemed to signal this horse has turned the corner. I'll put BU over Sierra Leone and just a touch in the 3rd spot. Beaten favorite in the Gotham. That was a tough assignment, though. You go from the maiden special into the stakes race. Now in the 3rd start of the career, stretches out. I think Just a Touch is going to be a serious player as well. I have a 2, 10, 6, and 4.
I will say this. I think the coaches seized the gray. I don't know can win this race, but I expect to run okay here today. Would definitely be part of my try. It's going to be a big, big price for the coach. So I think it's an intriguing race. I agree. Sierra Leone didn't get the break on the outside door knock against. So I think all 3 of the prep races are fun today.
Put door knock down on the 4th spot.
Yeah.
He could go either way with me. I'm not against necessarily, but I thought others were more interesting.
Wrapping it up, basically it's Keeneland is so special. They have a 4X. First off, most racetracks can't get a 4X. They can't get a 3X to go. But not only that, they have like 8 in the finale going a mile 16th on the turf.
3, 8, 4, and 5. I thought the 1 at 12-1 Camp Hope was also a little interesting for Ken McPeak. But I put Running B on top. Chad Brown runner. Not seen since February down at Tampa and the Tampa Bay, but just missed there. Now comes up to Keeneland where the horses run well before. We'll go with that one on top. Injunction at 10-1. I think the turf races are very good. If we get back to those, why not? And if we get that price. And then Dominican Pioneer in the 3rd spot. Hasn't been seen since the stakes tried at Churchill last November, but I think the Wesley Ward runner, solid fit, it looks like, with this bunch potentially. In the 11th and final, 3, 8, 4, and 5.
That wraps up our look at the brilliant second day card. I've already looked at Sunday, another great card. It's just a meet that almost always produces. I mean, and I've said this before.
Because it's short and it's pulling in horses from all over the place. If you get things right, you get paid, I think.
I'm actually have a brand new column on my spreadsheet, and it's geared probably only for Keeneland, which is going to be last track race stat.
I was going to put something together for this. I was looking, and if you went on Twitter, some people did that.
Oh.
But I would like it parsed out a little. They were just saying, came from this track. I kind of like it parsed out turf, dirt, sprint.
Maybe I can do that for you. You know, I got the young whippersnapper drives himself to school now, so I got free time, as it were. But thanks for joining us. Obviously, if you're tuning in now for the start of the show, well, we sailed without you. We almost sailed without Seth, but we sailed without you. But it's up on YouTube, so you can dial in. Great day of racing. Hopefully, the weather plays out. It looks sunny. I won't say warm, but it looks sunny. If that's a live shot at Keeneland, which I suspect it is, it looks like a very sunny morning at Keeneland. I think in New York, we've been programmed for about the last 30 years, Seth, that this is the onset of what we think of for New York racing for the next 6 months.
And it got off with a bang yesterday in the New York area.
Yes. So,
did you feel the earthquake?
Yes.
I did not.
Because I've been, we've had at least two since we've lived in this house. Young Anthony was very young. I didn't say anything, but I knew it. I came up from the office. I said to him, it was an earthquake, right? He was having his breakfast. He's like, yeah. I said, okay, I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you took your father's addressing of these things. But
I didn't feel it at all. But years ago, I was in Amsterdam, and there was an earthquake, and it was. I thought a tractor trailer had hit the house.
Oh,
it was. This
notable. One lasted longer than the previous one, but I lived through two at SC, and they were bigger than these things. But he stays. I go, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this great day of thoroughbred action.
TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.